Hello everyone, welcome back to the course Financial Mathematics for Actuaries. In the previous sessions, we have already understood the yield curve and the term structure of interest rates and the theories that explains the stylized facts of the term structure of interest rate. There we have tried our best to understand it in very simple way. Now in this session, let us use some mathematical notations and then we will eventually understand the bond pricing under a general term structure. So, today we are going to learn what is the spot rate of interest and what is the forward rate of interest and how to compute the present value and future value of spot rate and forward rate. Okay, and then what is the relationship between the spot rate and forward rate, and also eventually we are going to learn the bond pricing under a general term structure. Let us begin to understand what is spot interest rate. So note that every interest rate applies for a specific time period with a start date and an end date, right? Okay, and I think we have already understood the present value calculation and the future value calculation, but there you have seen that interest rate was constant. Okay, but in the previous sessions we have already understood that interest rates in different time period may varies. Okay, so let us understand what is spot rate. Okay, the spot rate that applies from today, okay, or the spot rate is the interest rate that applies from today until some future date. Okay, so what is happening in today's transaction, right? So it is the rate for a transaction that is happening immediately. Okay, so we can say that what is the stated interest rate based on the market, or what interest rate in the market is prevailing, is actually we are meaning to the spot rate. Okay, that means it is the rate available for us if we invest now. For example, suppose that I have signed a contract to borrow 1 lakh rupees at 5% rate of interest annually for 1 year. Okay, if the contract specify that I get my 1 lakh rupees, okay, and have to pay the interest and principal 1 year from today, then this 5% is basically a spot rate. Okay, right? So what is the forward rate then? The forward rate is the interest rate that is agreed upon today but starting sometime in the future date. Okay, so in our example here, if the agreement says that I don't get my 1 lakh rupees until 1 year from today and I pay back interest and principal for the future, say 2 years from today, okay, then the 5% rate is actually the forward rate. So actually we are having a deal today that is in the period 0, okay, for the transaction that will take place in some time in the future, right? So it is an agreed upon rate for transaction starting at a future date. Let us consider this timeline. This timeline is here, it starts from 0 to 1, 2 and then up to t period of time. So consider an investment at time 0 earning interest over t period of time. So ITS, this one, okay, ITS is denoting the spot rate of interest, which is the annualized effective rate of interest for the period from 0 to t. Okay, so you look at here, right? So this rate is applicable from 0 to t. Okay, imagine that a unit payment at time 0, okay, accumulates to therefore 1 plus ITS to the power t. So, this ITS is the spot rate for period 0 to t. Okay. So, this is essentially a future value of our annuity or of our investment, right. So, a unit payment, that is 1 rupee or $1 investment, okay, at a 0, at the time 0 here, accumulates to this one plus ITS to the power t. In the same way, we can compute the present value of the unit payment due at the time t as simply 1 upon at is equal to 1 upon 1 plus ITS to the power t. Okay. So, here look at the timeline again here. So, the spot rate for period 1 from 0 to 1 is like here. Okay. So, it is now happening today. So, a 2-year period or 2-period spot rate from here to here. Okay. From here to here is actually mentioned it here, that is I to S, right. Similarly, the T period spot rate is from 0 to T. This is what is mentioning here. Okay. On the other hand, the forward rate, which is actually the deal is making in this today, but the forward rate is for, let's say, for the period, the transaction will take place in the period 1 and 2 here. Okay. Here. Okay. That is what is mentioned here, right. So, we have here I to F is representing the forward rate for period 2, okay, 0 to 2, right, or forward rate of period 1 to 2, which is happening is 0 today, right. Similarly here, okay, the forward rate ITF is actually this period, right. Okay. So, the plot of the spot rate against the T is basically known as the yield curve, what we have already understood. So, in the yield curve, what the interest rate we are actually referring to, all are the spot interest rate. Okay. So, a plot of this ITS against T is basically known as the yield curve. Okay. And the mathematical relationship between the spot rate and the T is basically known as the term structure of interest rate. Okay. So, more clearly, okay, if the 1-year spot rate is, let's say, I1S here, as I have already mentioned, then the annual or the periodic accumulation factor, or you can simplify like annual accumulation factor, can be, okay, using the same formula, we will have 1 plus I1S, and the annual periodic discount factor, therefore 1 upon 1 plus I1S, or simply we can write 1 plus I1S to the power minus 1. Okay. Similarly, if the 2-year spot rate is I2S, okay, this one, if the 2-year spot rate is I2S, then the annual periodic accumulation factor AAF is 1 plus I2S to the power 2, and the annual periodic discount factor is then 1 upon 1 plus I2S to the power 2, or simply we can write 1 plus I2S to the power minus 2. Okay. I think now it is very clear, right. Okay. If not, we will see it again. Okay. But now, what is forward rate? Okay. Let us denote the forward rate is ITF, that is the rate of interest applicable to the period T minus 1 to T, here the period T minus 1 to T. Okay. So, you note here that while ITS applies to T period, okay, while ITS applied for or applies to T periods, that is from 0 to T, ITF applies to only one period, that is T minus 1 to T. Okay. Also, this rate is determined at the time 0, right, although the payment is due at time T minus 1. Okay. And that is the reason we call it as forward rate. So forward rate is the rate you are actually like the contract you are dealing today, but the transaction will take place sometime in the future, right? Let's consider a zero coupon bond. Let's consider a zero coupon bond. Remember that the yield to maturity on a zero coupon bond is the spot interest rate for that time to maturity. So the yield to maturity on a zero coupon bond is the spot interest rate for that time to maturity. Suppose that bond A is 1 year bond and bond B is a 2 year bond. Both have the face value of, let's say, $1,000. The 1 year interest rate is 8%, and the 2 year interest rate is 10%, right? So these two rates of the interest are the example of the spot interest rate. So this is the spot interest rate for 1 year, or 1 year spot interest rate is 8%, and the 2 year spot interest spot rate is 10%. Here in this timeline, in this diagram here, clearly mentioned that bond A, which is having 8%, that is for 1 year, 1 year, 0 to 1, and the face value is 1000 rupees. Similarly, a 2 year interest rate, so 2 year interest rate is here 10%, and the face value is 1000 rupees. So both of these are spot interest rate, or simply spot rate. So suppose that bond A is a 1 year bond and bond B is a 2 year bond, as we have already like seen in the previous slide there. And we have understood that the face value for both is actually $1,000. Then the 1 year interest rate is given as 8% and the 2 year interest rate is given as 10%. We can easily compute the present value and future value of bond A and bond B. So how do you compute the present values? The present value of A, with this 8% interest rate with face value 1000 rupees, we can simply have like this is 1000, or $1000 divided by 1 plus the interest rate or the spot rate, that is 1.08, right, is equal to, we can just solve it here. 1000 divided by 1.08 is equal to 925, $925.93. we have just rounded it up to 3, so we will have 925.93. Similarly, we will compute for the 2-year bond, or here, that is the 2-year bond, is the interest rate is 10%. So we will simply have 1000 divided by 1 point this 10% to the power 2, which will give us a value 826.45, again rounded up. Now you can use your calculator to get this value. It will be very easy, so I am not doing it again for you. Of course, if the present value of A and present value of B were observable, the spot rates are not observable, then we can use the same formula to compute the rate. Now you can even compute the rate if you know this one, the present value is given, so that this value, if this value is given and this value is given, then we can still compute the rate, right, using the formula. So here for our case, 1000 divided by 1 plus I1s to the power 1, which is equal to 925.93, and then we can simply compute it as like I1s, which is equal to 1000 divided by 925.93 minus 1, which will give us around 8%. Okay, again it is rounded up, so it will come around 7.9 and something, and then we will round it for 8%. Okay, so this is for A. So in the same way we can compute it for B also. Okay, in case of B, it will be 1000 divided by 1 plus I to S to the power 2 is equal to 826.45. Okay, and then we will simply compute it, right? 1 plus, okay, I to S to the power 2 or the square is equal to 1000 divided by 826.45, okay, which will be equal to 1.21, and then, okay, then you can easily compute it for I to S, okay, which can be computed as 9.99 or 10%. This is what, okay. So what we have seen here is, like, using the formula you can even compute the present value of A and B, okay, or if you know the present value and the face value, you can still compute the spot rate of interest. Okay, so in this example we have seen that an individual investing $1 in a 2-year zero coupon bond would have, okay, 1.21 in 2 years, right? Okay, and we can also compute the forward rate for 2 years, okay, as simply, okay, I to F is equal to 1 plus I to S to the power 2 divided by 1 plus I1 S minus 1. Okay, I will tell you like how we will get this formula, but now, okay, just take this formula, we can compute the forward rate given the S rate using this formula. Okay, so I to F therefore is equal to 1 plus I to S square divided by 1 plus I1 S minus 1. Now using this we can simply compute that 1.10 to the power 2 divided by 1.08 minus 1, which will be equal to 12.04. What does this 12.04% means? This, no? So if we are given the spot rate, that is I1S and I2S, we can always determine the forward rate I2F such that, okay, such that we can have like 1 plus I2S square is equal to 1 plus I1S multiplied by 1 plus I2F. Okay. Now what does this, like, let us understand what does this 12.04% in our calculation means, right? Okay, to understand this, let us observe this, like table here. Okay, this is the timeline, okay, using this, right? So we have two strategy already discussed. Okay, so when an individual invest in 2-year zero coupon bond, okay, yielding 10%, his wealth at the end of 2 year is the same as if he received an 8% return over the first year and a 12.04% return over the second year. Okay, therefore we can think of an investor with a 2-year zero coupon bond as getting the 1-year spot rate of 8% and locking in 12.04% over the second year. Okay, this can be very clear here, right? So with a 2-year spot rate of 10%, an investor in 2-year bond receive, okay, 1.21 dollar at that 2 that we have already computed. Okay, so this is the same return as if the investor received the spot rate of interest as 8% over the first year, and then, okay, a 12.04% over the second year. Now you will add this, you will get the okay. So here, so because both the 1 year spot rate and the 2 year spot rate are known at 0, okay, the forward rate over the second year can also be calculated at the 0, okay, at that 0, right. So these simple numerical examples enable us to understand how to compute the spot rate and the future rate. Okay, let us look at more formally, and let us also derive the forward rate given the spot rate. Okay.